Please, though, everybody, call me Wongy. You see, that's my name in the gym. And the gym is one of my favourite places. It's the pumping tunes, the endorphin-releasing exercises. It's just such a great vibe. In fact, I'm pretty sure we can get a bit of a vibe going in here today. Come on, guys, everybody, stand up, stand up. That's it. Now, the quickest way to endorphin bliss, it is with burpees, but just trust me on this, I know it's a bit squashy, but we can make it work, we can, all right, relax. I'm actually not going to make you do a burpee, but great sports, look at you all, the best class I've had. But please take a seat. And, some people are disappointed. As you sit down, I want you to have a think, what just went through your heads just then? Yeah, that was pretty disruptive, wasn't it? To be expected to stand up and start exercising. You're not at the gym. You're comfortably seated watching some pretty awesome speeches. In fact, it wasn't just disruptive, it was downright rude. I deliberately messed with your equilibrium there. For some of you, your heart rate spiked as the body's primal reflexes of fight or flight kicked in. Some of you were ready to fight me when I mentioned burpees. But now you know I'm not going to ask you to do a burpee today. I want you to contemplate a few things that will hopefully change your perspective. Who knows, you might even learn to embrace the burpee. But at the very least, I'd love you all to see that disruption is not always a bad thing. I used to own a gym as well. And I regularly bump into my past clients, shout out to the gym crew. And do you know what they all say to me? Every one of them. Wongy, we love burpees. Right, now, okay, they probably don't say it exactly like that, but I can tell that they're all thinking it. Because, you see, a burpee is a dynamic movement that gets the entire body going, and that is fun. Again, it depends on who you ask. But you see, exercise stimulates the brain. The neural pathways start firing, learning's consolidated, new ideas are generated. I can go on and on here, but you're probably starting to see where my love of burpees and my love of learning unite. You see, another favourite place for me is the classroom. Now, when I talk about the classroom, I mean being surrounded by the incredible and often hilarious minds of young people. I'm certainly not talking about the four walls physically holding these kids in a box. Did you know that scientists conducted an experiment where they built a 5 by 5 metre cardboard room? They then asked participants to complete some creative problem-solving challenges, half sitting inside the cardboard box, others outside. Now, the results unanimously showed that those participants working outside the box lived up to the expression, scoring significantly higher thinking outside the box. Now, the researchers took this a step further, wanting to incorporate movement into the equation. So back at the lab, they asked a group of scientists to complete the exact same questions. Now, one group was told to follow a rectangular line marked out clearly around the lab. The second group were told, just walk wherever you want, but keep walking, keep moving while doing the problems. So, who do you think scored higher? All of them, they're scientists. But no, if you were thinking the group that chose their own pathway, you're absolutely correct. But I've gone off topic. I'm talking about school. Who remembers school? Do you remember what your classroom looked like? Now, some of you, myself, can remember blackboards. Other people, whiteboards. Did you know kids today have got electronic interactive whiteboards in the classroom? Imagine that. These kids are never going to experience the sound of nails scraping down a whiteboard to get your attention. Teenagers will never know the thrill of ducking as a piece of chalk and a duster goes flying over your head, thrown with precision by the teachers. Now, who were the teachers throwing the chalk at? If we fast forwarded 10 years from then into another classroom, the same type of student we'd see standing at the board writing out lines. Another 10 years on, it's the kids standing outside the classroom door. Today, it's the children we put in the reflection corner. Now, what have all of these students got in common? They're disruptive. These are the kids that shout out. They don't stay in their seats. They interrupt the entire class. In fact, pretty sure some of those things are written on my report card at some stage. We tell these kids, sit still, stop talking, stop fidgeting. But fortunately today, we've come up with a solution for this, right? Now, don't get me wrong, I am not anti-medication. I'm far from it. I just often wonder what would happen if we looked at education a little differently. What if we took learning out the classroom? What if we got kids moving, run a lap of the oval, sit under a tree and do some writing? We could make them do burpees. But there's a lot of teachers today who are already onto the power of movement and learning, and it's already part of their classroom practice. And every teacher out there can tell you a story, a breakthrough moment they've had with a student demonstrating these challenging behaviours. Let's take Ted, for example. Now, I was warned about Ted well before he stepped foot in my classroom, and I will tell you this. The kids that I'm warned about, they are often my favourites. Now, Ted's come in on the first day of school, all the attitude, ready for a showdown. Miss. And I've addressed the class as follows. Champions, we have a new legend with us today. This is Ted. But Ted, I've heard great things, but before we go any further, mate, come here. I need you to take this to the office for me. I forgot to do it this morning. I forget everything. I'm really disorganised. I need a helper. Are you the man for the job? He looked at me bewildered as he took the piece of paper and went to the office on his new role of responsibility. But in just like that, in under 60 seconds, I've rewritten Ted's story. Now, he went on to never complete any written work sitting at a desk. It was standard practice that he'd run 2 laps of the basketball court before joining the rest of us at the end of every lunch break. He would randomly bust out push-ups when a concept became too difficult or challenging for him. And not only were these behaviours encouraged, they were celebrated. They were mirrored by the rest of the class, myself included, as we all realised we needed to move throughout the day. The entire class benefited from Ted's disruption. There's no teachers out there telling you these wonderful stories. Oh yeah, I gave them 5 detentions in a row, that sorted them out. Or I berated them constantly in front of their peers until they got their work done. No. Teachers celebrate the moments that they get through to these kids on their level. It's what we can't put into words when people say, oh, teaching, I could not think of a worse job. Which is commonly followed by, but you do get the best holidays. No, many teachers out there are already onto this power. And disruptive kids are the reason I am where I am today. You see, disruption causes challenge. It's challenging behaviour. Challenge opens the door to change. Change opens the doors to curiosity. And this is the future. At last year's World Economic Forum, it was predicted that by 2025, 50% of the current workforce will not have the skills required to do their jobs. Think about that. That is 4 years from now. That's not an indiscrete number in the future with flying cars and hoverboards. We'll ask the scientists about those later. But no, in 4 years, half of the workforce won't know how to do their jobs. In a report that followed, the top 10 future job skills were listed. Have a look at these. How many traditional school subjects do you see on this list? How many of these skills will be enhanced through creativity? Creativity that's been forced with disruption, maybe. Creativity that can be enhanced with movement. When is there going to be enough disruption for the education system to change? The landscape has certainly changed. It's doing so at a rapid pace. We can't see the future. But we do know that educational institutions are based on social circumstances set well in the past. The 1800s saw the Industrial Revolution formalise education as we know it, making it compulsory. They needed factory workers. We need creative problem solvers. Surely it's time to move with the times. Literally. Burpees! All right, I get that you guys are not the biggest fan of burpees, but you know what? Kids love them. Why? They get to jump, clap, throw themselves on the floor. When was the last time you threw yourself on the floor? Did anybody else just think of a tantruming toddler then? Every parent in the room can relate, and we've all seen it. The supermarket aisle, the screaming child, the poor flustered parent. What about on an aeroplane? I was on a flight once with the best disruptive tantrum I've ever witnessed. Now, she couldn't have been more than 2 because it's up until then it's mandatory that you're strapped to your parent with that little mini seatbelt. Just picture that, a little bundle of joy physically tied to you. Bliss, right? Well, this little lady had other ideas, and as the engines roared to life, so did she. She kicked, screamed, howled. The airline crew looked on helplessly, and as the plane continued its steep ascent, so did she. I'm telling you, the passenger in front of her lost clumps of hair. The mother was bleeding from scratch marks. This was next level. But then something miraculous happened. The seatbelt light switched off. The child was set free, and she ran up and down the aisle. Not one person on that plane dared stop her. I overheard someone console the mother, saying she's going to be a leader one day. I thought, she already is. She's clearly using disruption to force change in her world. Now, I don't know the end of that story, but I'd like to imagine there was some collaborative thinking with the parents, definitely a few choice words. Look, I won't lie, they may have driven home from their destination. But whether it be on an aeroplane, in the workplace, in our households, we all have to deal with disruption. There is entire fields of research dedicated to innovative disruption in the corporate sector. Anthropologists across the world are studying the impact of disruptive events on society and our world. Gosh, we are currently living through one of the most majorly disruptive events in modern history, a worldwide pandemic of epic proportion. We have all had to adapt and change, morph. Whether it be homeschooling with the kids, learning how to keep a lid on it when the cameras are on, or whether we're attending our meetings with our business attire on top, pyjamas on the bottom for a video conference call. The corporate world has discovered that the world still turns around flexible work hours, letting the staff work from home. And forced lockdowns have proven how much we all need that hour of exercise a day. We only have to Google home workouts to see how creative we got in that space. And while you're at it, check out home workout fails. They're good for the mental health. We've taken on new hobbies: indoor plants, puzzles, daytime drinking, toilet paper hoarding, not to mention the beautiful feel-good moments as we have gone to know who our neighbours are for the first time. Internationally, we've seen scientists work together on a COVID vaccine. My 7-year-old son said to me, "Mum, what's a COVID vaccine?" So I explained in all my biomedical expertise, it's kind of like an antidote that Batman gives everyone in Gotham City to stop so they're immune to the Joker's laughing gas. I did go on to explain to him, it's a drug that's been created by very clever scientific researchers to stop people catching and spreading COVID. And quick as you like, he says, "Oh, Mum, why did you make the vaccine?" Bless him. I'm a researcher, so why don't I make the vaccine? Now, he went on to spend the rest of the day brainstorming, coming up with ideas, questions, all the questions around COVID and vaccines. But that's what young kids do, isn't it? They get creative with challenge. Through the eyes of a child, failure is an inconvenience that can be overcome. There is no inside the box. Give kids a box, they're jumping all over it. So why do they stop? When do they start sitting in the box? When did you? When did disruption in our world become a cause for constant complaint and not an opportunity to innovate? So next time you're stuck on a challenge like TED, get up and move. Or if your colleagues, your family, anyone driving you to distraction, move. Give it a try for innovation, for inspiration, for motivation, all the shins. Just move. And remember, when life does knock you down, do a burpee.